The morning sun of Colony Nexus 7 cast long shadows across the prefabricated housing units. As Damon Price stepped onto his small porch, coffee mug in hand, the twin stars of the Kepler system painted everything in warm amber light, a sight he'd grown to appreciate during his 3 years as a maintenance engineer on this frontier world. His routine was simple, predictable, and exactly how he liked it. The low hum of an approaching hover truck interrupted his peaceful moment. Damon frowned, checking his wrist comm. The regular supply delivery wasn't scheduled until Thursday, and today was only Tuesday. The vehicle that rounded the corner wasn't the familiar rust-orange transport driven by Old Pete, the grizzled human courier who'd been servicing this sector since the colony's establishment. This truck was sleek, metallic, silver, and moved with a precision that spoke of advanced navigation systems. As it settled onto the landing pad beside his unit, Damon caught sight of the driver through the polarized windscreen. Definitely not Pete. The door hissed open, and out stepped the most striking being Damon had ever seen. She was tall, nearly 6 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the dual sunlight. Her hair was a cascade of crimson curls that caught the light like flame, and her movements held a fluid grace that was distinctly non-human. She wore the standard Courier uniform, dark blue jumpsuit with reflective strips, but on her, it looked anything but ordinary. Damon Price, her voice carried a slight purr, accent unfamiliar but pleasant, golden eyes with vertical pupils fixed on him with unsettling intensity. That's me. Damon set down his mug, suddenly conscious of his worn work clothes and unkempt hair. You're not Pete. Pete has been reassigned to the inner sectors. I'm Krell of the Chara. She moved to the cargo bay with efficient precision, her every motion controlled and purposeful. I will be handling deliveries for this route. Damon had heard of the Chara feline-descended species that had joined the Colonial Alliance only a decade ago. They were known for their exceptional reflexes, keen senses, and somewhat aloof nature. This was his first time meeting one in person. Krell emerged from the truck carrying a package marked with his name. As she approached, Damon caught a scent, unlike anything he'd encountered, something between exotic spices and ocean air, with an underlying warmth that made his pulse quicken inexplicably. Engineering supplies, she stated, extending the package. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and Damon could have sworn he felt a small electric shock. Krell's pupils dilated slightly, and she pulled her hand back with perhaps more haste than necessary. Thanks. How long have you been working this route? This is my first week. Her response was clipped, professional. Is there anything else? Requiring delivery? No, this is all I was expecting. Damon found himself reluctant to end the conversation. There was something magnetic about her presence, despite her obvious desire to maintain distance. Welcome to Nexus 7, I guess. It's not much, but the people are friendly. Krell's golden eyes studied him for a long moment, and Damon felt as though she was cataloging every detail of his appearance. Her nostrils flared slightly. Was she smelling him? I will remember that, she said finally. Good day, Engineer Price. She turned and walked back to her truck with that same liquid grace, leaving Damon standing on his porch feeling oddly bereft. He watched the vehicle rise and disappear toward the next delivery point, Krell's unusual scent still lingering in the air around him. Over the following days, Damon found himself looking forward to delivery times with an anticipation that surprised him. Krell maintained her professional demeanor, but he began to notice small things, the way her gaze would linger on him a fraction longer than necessary, how she would position herself just slightly closer than required for package exchanges, the way her tail would twitch when he smiled at her. Something was building between them, a tension neither acknowledged but both felt. Damon had no idea that for Krell, each encounter was becoming increasingly difficult to navigate as her body began responding to signals she couldn't ignore. The season was changing on Nexus 7, and with it, something fundamental was shifting. In Krell's biology, something that would soon make their careful professional distance impossible to maintain. 2 weeks into Krell's new route, Damon began to notice changes that went beyond mere familiarity. What started as brief, professional encounters had gradually extended into longer conversations. Though Krell seemed almost surprised by her own lingering presence each time. Your atmospheric processor is running at suboptimal efficiency, she observed during what should have been a simple package drop. Instead of her usual quick departure, she stood examining the humming unit mounted on his building's exterior wall. It's been like that for months, Damon admitted, moving to stand beside her. Colonial maintenance keeps saying they'll get to it, but he shrugged. Krell's golden eyes fixed on the device with intense focus. The harmonic frequency is incorrect. Simple calibration issue. Her fingers traced the air near the controls. Not quite touching. I could adjust it, if you wish. You know atmospheric processors? Shara colonies use similar technology. We adapt quickly. There was pride in her voice, but also something else, a breathiness that hadn't been there before. As she worked on the unit, Damon found himself studying her more openly. Her movements had grown more fluid over the past weeks, almost hypnotic. The pale blue of her skin seemed to shimmer more intensely, and he could swear her scent had grown stronger, more intoxicating. When she reached up to access the higher controls, her jumpsuit pulled taut across her form, and Damon forced himself to look away. There, she said, stepping back. The processor's hum immediately smoothed into a more pleasant tone. Much better. Thanks. I owe you one. Krell's pupils dilated, and she moved a step closer. Perhaps I could check your other systems sometime, ensure they are operating correctly. The suggestion hung in the air between them, loaded with implications neither quite acknowledged. Damon's pulse quickened. I'd like that. Over the following days, Krell's visits became increasingly frequent. Packages arrived that were clearly meant for other addresses. She would apologize profusely, explaining mix-ups in her route planning, then return hours later with corrections. Her explanations grew more elaborate and less convincing. This package was labeled for Unit 47, but the addressing algorithm suggested Unit 42, she said, standing in his doorway with a small parcel that clearly bore someone else's name. Krell, Damon said gently, Unit 47 is right next door. Her cheeks darkened to a deeper blue, a blush. He realized, of course, my mistake. But she made no move to leave, instead stepping slightly into his living space. Your dwelling smells pleasant. Just coffee and synthetic air freshener. No, her voice had dropped to almost a whisper. Something else, something uniquely. She paused, seeming to catch herself. I should go, but she didn't go. Instead, she stood there breathing deeply, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm that seemed almost labored. Her eyes had begun to glow with a soft inner light that Damon found mesmerizing. Are you all right? He asked, Krell's hands clenched into fists at her sides. I am experiencing some physiological adjustments. Nothing concerning. Physiological adjustments. The seasons here are different from my home world. It affects some of us more than others. Her explanation sounded rehearsed, as if she'd been preparing it. I should adapt soon. That evening, Damon researched Shara biology in the colony's database. The information was limited. The species was relatively new to human contact, and they were notoriously private about personal matters. But he found references to seasonal changes affecting their behavior, particularly among females of reproductive age. The next morning, Krell arrived earlier than usual, her hover truck settling onto his landing pad just as the twin suns crested the horizon. She emerged, moving with restless energy, her tail lashing behind her in agitation. Emergency delivery, she announced, though her voice lacked conviction. Emergency. Priority medical supplies, very urgent. She handed him a package that clearly contained routine electronics components. Damon accepted it, without comment, noting how her hands trembled slightly. Her scent was overwhelming now, filling his senses with that exotic blend of spices and warmth. When their fingers touched during the exchange, she didn't pull away immediately. Instead, she lingered, her skin fever warm against his. Krell, he said softly, what's really happening here? Her golden eyes met his, and in them he saw a war between desire and control. She swallowed hard. I am trying to maintain professional boundaries. And how's that working out for you? A sound escaped her throat, half laugh, half growl. Poorly. The admission hung between them like a bridge neither was quite ready to cross. Krell's breathing had grown shallow, and Damon could see the pulse jumping in her throat. Every instinct told him to reach for her, but something in her posture, the careful way she held herself apart, warned him that she was balancing on a knife's edge. "I should go," she whispered, but her feet remained planted. "Should and want are different things," Damon replied. Krell's eyes flared brighter. "You have no idea what you're suggesting. Then tell me for a moment." He thought she might. Her lips parted, and he could see the struggle playing out across her features. Then, with visible effort, she stepped backward. "Soon," she said, and it sounded like both a promise and a warning. "Very soon. I won't be able to leave." The breaking point came on the third Thursday of Krell's route. Damon was working in his small workshop when the familiar hum of her hover truck arrived. But something was different. The engine's sound was erratic, the landing rougher than her usual precision approach. Through his window, he watched Krell emerge from the vehicle, and his breath caught. Her normally perfect posture had given way to something more primal. She moved with predatory grace, her head held high, scenting the air. Her golden eyes blazed with that inner light, and even from a distance, he could see the fine tremor in her hands. She approached his door with deliberate steps, a package clutched against her chest like a shield. When Damon opened the door, the wave of her scent nearly staggered him. Rich, intoxicating, and undeniably rousing. "Delivery for Damon Price," she said, but her voice was rougher now, carrying that purring undertone more prominently. "Krell, are you? Take it." She thrust the package toward him with jerky movements. "Take it and let me leave." But when he reached for the package, she didn't release it. Instead, she stood there holding the other end, creating a connection between them that neither seemed willing to break. Her breathing was audible now, quick and shallow. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Pretending I don't want to touch you. Pretending your scent doesn't drive me to distraction. Pretending that every moment I spend away from you isn't torture." The words spilled out of her in a rush, as if a dam had finally burst. Damon gently took the package and set it aside, then stepped closer. "Krell, what's happening to you?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What's happening is that I'm in heat, and you're the only human on my route, and your species' genetic diversity is like a drug to mine." The clinical explanation hit him like a physical blow. "Heat? The Chara reproductive cycle. Every few years, our bodies prepare for mating. We become hypersensitive to pheromones, especially from genetically compatible partners." Her eyes never left his face. "Humans are very compatible. How long does it last?" "Days, sometimes weeks." She swayed slightly on her feet. "And it's getting stronger. I've been fighting it for days, but being near you makes it impossible to think clearly." Damon felt a mixture of desire and concern. "What do you need?" "I need." She stepped closer, close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from her skin. "I need you to understand that once this cycle takes hold completely, I won't be able to control myself. Chara mate for life. Damon, if we bond during my heat, there's no going back." The weight of her words settled between them. "And if we don't, then I'll have to find another route. Far from here, the attraction will be too strong otherwise." Her voice broke slightly. "I'll lose my job, but I'll survive." Damon reached up and gently touched her face. Her skin was fever hot, and she leaned into his touch with a soft sound of need. "What if I don't want you to leave?" "You don't know what you're saying, don't I?" He moved closer until they were almost touching. "I've been going crazy these past weeks too. Thinking about you, looking forward to your visits, wishing they lasted longer." Krell's control finally snapped. With a low growl, she pressed herself against him, her hands fisting in his shirt. "Damon, I need you to be sure. Once we cross this line." He silenced her with a kiss, soft at first, then deeper as she responded with desperate hunger. Her lips were warm and soft, her taste exotic and addictive. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "I'm sure," he whispered against her lips. Krell's eyes blazed brighter, and he could feel the tension in her body shift from restraint to anticipation. "Then help me," she breathed. "Help me through this, and I'll be yours forever." "Forever?" "Chara don't love lightly, Damon Price. When we choose a mate, it's for life." She pulled back to look into his eyes. "Are you ready for that kind of commitment?" Looking into her golden eyes, feeling the rightness of her in his arms. Damon knew his answer. Yes, the single word unleashed something in Krell. With a sound that was part relief, part triumph, she pulled him deeper into his dwelling, her lips finding his neck, her hands exploring his body with growing urgency. The careful professional distance they'd maintained crumbled completely, replaced by a need that threatened to consume them both. As Krell's heat took hold completely, she pressed against him with desperate intensity, and Damon realized that his quiet life on Colony Nexus 7 was about to change forever. The next hours passed in a haze of discovery and passion. Krell's heat transformed her from the controlled professional he'd known into something wild and magnificent. Her touch was electric, her kisses desperate, and her need for him seemed to radiate from every pore. "Are you certain?" she gasped between kisses as they stumbled toward his bedroom. "Once we begin, I won't be able to stop." "I don't want you to stop," Damon replied, his hands tracing the graceful lines of her body through her jumpsuit. With trembling fingers, she unsealed the front of her uniform, revealing pale blue skin that seemed to glow in the soft light filtering through his windows. Damon's breath caught at her beauty. She was alien and familiar at once. Exotic curves and familiar feminine grace. "You're stunning," he whispered, reaching out to trace the line of her collarbone. Krell shivered under his touch. "Your species affects us so strongly because of your diversity. Every human carries genetic markers that complement ours perfectly." Her voice was barely recognizable, thick with need. "But you're exceptional." Their lovemaking was intense and tender by turns. Krell's heat made her hypersensitive to every touch, every caress, and Damon found himself learning the geography of her body with careful attention. She responded to his touch with sounds of pleasure that were distinctly feline purrs and soft growls that vibrated through her chest. "Is this normal?" he asked during a quiet moment, running his fingers through her crimson curls as she lay against his chest. "The intensity, yes, the heat makes everything more vivid, more necessary." She lifted her head to look at him. "But the emotional connection, that's all us." As the hours passed, Damon began to understand the true nature of Shara bonding. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological, even spiritual. He could feel Krell's emotions as if they were his own, her contentment and satisfaction flowing through him like warm honey. "I can feel you," he said wonderingly. "The bond is forming." She confirmed, her voice soft with exhaustion and fulfillment. "It will grow stronger over the next few days." "What does that mean for us?" "Practically, I mean." Krell was quiet for a long moment. "It means I'll need to request a transfer to permanently service this sector. It means I'll want to spend every free moment with you. It means," she hesitated. "What?" "It means that in Shara culture, we're now considered mated. If my people knew, they would expect certain ceremonies, certain commitments." "And what do you expect?" She turned in his arms to face him fully. "I expect nothing you're not ready to give, but I hope you'll want to build something permanent with me." Damon considered this, feeling the rightness of her presence in his arms. The way she seemed to complete something in him he hadn't known was missing. The colony administration might have issues with an interspecies relationship. "Let them," Krell said fiercely. "The Colonial Alliance recognizes Shara bonding rights. They can't separate us without cause." Over the following days, Krell's heat gradually subsided, but the bond between them only grew stronger. She spent her off-duty hours at his dwelling, and Damon found himself rearranging his work schedule to accommodate her delivery times. The physical attraction remained intense, but it was tempered now by deeper emotional connection. "I never expected this," Krell admitted one evening as they shared dinner, a fusion of human and Shara cuisine that somehow worked perfectly together. "What? Falling for a human? Falling at all?" Shara are typically very controlled about mate selection. "We choose based on genetic compatibility and social standing." She reached across the table to take his hand. "But with you, it was instinct. Pure, undeniable instinct. And now it's choice, every day. I choose you, and every day, the bond grows stronger." Their relationship faced challenges: curious neighbors, bureaucratic paperwork, the occasional speciesist comment, but they weathered each obstacle together. Krell's fierce protectiveness surprised everyone, including herself. while Damon discovered reserves of courage he hadn't known he possessed. When defending their relationship, "You've changed me," Krell told him one night as they lay entwined, her purr a gentle vibration against his chest. "How so?" "I used to think love was a weakness, something that made you vulnerable, dependent." She lifted her head to meet his eyes. "But this, what we have, it makes me stronger." Damon smiled, stroking her hair. "It makes us both stronger." As they drifted off to sleep, surrounded by the scents and sounds that had become familiar, her exotic perfume, his cologne, the hum of the atmospheric processor she'd fixed, the distant sounds of the colony settling into night, both knew that their lives had been forever changed by a simple delivery route and the courage to follow their hearts across the vast divide between species. 3 months after Krell's heat cycle, their relationship had settled into a rhythm that felt as natural as breathing. She had successfully petitioned for permanent assignment to Damon's sector. Though this meant occasional longer routes to outer settlements, each separation was difficult, but their bond had grown strong enough to span the distances. Colonial administration approved our cohabitation request, Damon announced one morning, waving an official-looking document as Krell prepared for her daily rounds. She paused in her pre-flight checks, ears perking forward with interest. All of it. Shared housing, medical benefits, even emergency contact privileges. He grinned. "We're officially recognized as a bonded pair." Krell abandoned her hover truck entirely, crossing to him in quick strides. When she reached him, she didn't stop. Instead, she lifted him clean off his feet in an embrace that spoke of Chara strength and human joy combined. "This means everything," she whispered against his neck. "It means we can make this official, if you want to." She set him down, golden eyes searching his face. "What exactly are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that we stop pretending this is temporary. I'm suggesting we make it legal, permanent, official in every way that matters to both our species." Krell whispered deep into a rumble of contentment. "Damon Price, are you proposing to me?" "I'm proposing to you, Krell of the Chara. Will you be my mate, my wife, my partner in this crazy colonial life?" Her answer came in the form of a kiss that tasted of morning coffee and new possibilities. When they finally broke apart, she was laughing, a sound like silver bells that he'd grown to love. "Yes, you impossible human. Yes to all of it." The announcement of their engagement sent ripples through the small colonial community. Most reactions were positive. Frontier colonies tended to be more accepting of diversity, but there were challenges. A few conservative families questioned the wisdom of interspecies relationships. The colonial church required special dispensation for their ceremony. Krell's own family, contacted through subspace communication, expressed concern about their daughter bonding outside the traditional Chara community. "They'll come around," Krell assured Damon after a particularly tense conversation with her parents. "Chara respects strength, and our bond is stronger than most traditional matings they've seen. And if they don't, then they'll miss out on knowing an extraordinary human who makes their daughter happy." She curled against him on their shared couch, a recent addition to accommodate her preference for close contact. "My happiness matters more than their traditions." The wedding planning became a fascinating exercise in cultural fusion. Chara ceremonies involved scent marking and intricate vocal harmonies. Human traditions required exchanged vows and symbolic jewelry. Somehow, they managed to blend both into something uniquely theirs. "The colony's talking about making this the social event of the season," Damon observed, reviewing the guest list that had somehow grown to include half their neighbors. "Let them talk. We're giving them something they've never seen before." Krell's tail swished with amusement. "Besides, it's good for colonial morale. Shows that different species can not only coexist but thrive together." The ceremony itself was held at sunset, when the twin suns painted the sky in colors that complemented Krell's pale blue skin. She wore traditional Chara ceremonial robes in deep purple. While Damon chose a simple human suit that had been his father's. The fusion of customs created something entirely new. Vows spoken in 3 languages, rings exchanged alongside traditional Chara bonding scarves, and a kiss that sealed their union while Krell harmonized with the colonies. "Musicians, I've never seen anything like it," whispered their neighbor, Mrs. Chen, tears streaming down her face. "I have," replied old Pete, who had made the trip from the inner colonies specifically for the ceremony. "Seen plenty of people get married, but I ain't never seen two souls fit together like those two." Their honeymoon was necessarily brief. Krell's courier responsibilities couldn't be abandoned for long, but they made the most of it. A week at the coastal resort in New Pacifica, where Krell's fascination with Earth-normal ocean life provided endless entertainment for both of them. "Your planet has such incredible biodiversity," she marveled, watching the sunset paint the waves in shades of gold and crimson. "Our planet," Damon corrected gently. She turned to him with eyes that reflected the setting sun. "Our planet," she agreed. Returning to Colony Nexus 7 felt like coming home in a way it never had before. Their dwelling had been expanded to accommodate Krell's need for vertical space and Damon's collection of engineering equipment. The atmospheric processor hummed with perfect efficiency. The landing pad bore the scars of daily use. "Any regrets?" Damon asked one evening as they watched the stars emerge in the alien sky. "About bonding with a human who makes terrible coffee and leaves his tools everywhere." Krell pretended to consider this seriously. "About choosing love over duty. Passion over prudence, when you put it like that. My only regret," she said, settling against him with that perfect fit they'd discovered, "is that we wasted so much time pretending we were just courier and customer. We had to build trust first." "Trust, yes. But I knew from the first week that you were going to be important to me. My instincts don't lie." Damon smiled, stroking her hair as her purr vibrated against his chest. "Good thing I'm a patient man. Good thing I'm persistent." Above them, the stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, the same stars that had witnessed the birth of both their species, the expansion into space, the meeting of worlds that had made their love possible. Tomorrow would bring new deliveries, new challenges, new adventures. But tonight, they had each other, and the promise of all the tomorrows to come. "I love you, Krell of the Chara, Mrs. Krell Price. I love you too, Damon Price, my impossible, wonderful human mate." In the distance, another courier's hover truck hummed across the colony, carrying packages and possibilities to destinations unknown. But for Damon and Krell, the most important delivery had already been made to hearts, delivered safely into each other's keeping, signed and sealed for life.